Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody!
The energy revealed. Brooklyn to Queens, reppin' both hoods. Rob and CP, keep it fire misunderstood. Cheer 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city stand lights to the skyline greens. It's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. Rob hype on the mic, CP's the fire spark. Together they ignite. Voices like the park, fans dripped in jerseys. Legacy bold, the metropolitan story forever told. Turnstile spinning, the crowd floods the gates. This is family, no time for debates. Crack of the Batman, the roar never fades. Queens in the blood, it's how champions are made. Cheer 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city stand lights to the skyline greens. It's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. 7-line swagger, vibes electric and wild. Mets legacy golden since I was a child. Orange crushed skies, let the battle ignite. Ride for the home team till the last fight.
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the Amazing Mets pregame show right here on the channel and on X. And the Mets did find a way to win that game last night against the Cincinnati Reds. That was a little crazy. It's in typical Mets fashion, right? They never make nothing easy. Starting pitching when it came to David Peterson was all right. Better than what we've seen over the last couple of starts or the last month. It was a little bit better. We've seen good signs from David Peterson. He did struggle in that fourth inning. That kind of made his start kind of look at worse than what it should have been. But that fourth inning kind of got to him a little bit. But there were some signs with David Peterson that you like to see that he did during that game, which is a good sign. But we need him to be better. But it's Tong Day. Be honest about that. With 21 games to go, or at least, 21 games to go, right? After today, it'll be 20. Not a lot of time to, mess around here. There's got to be, now there's finally seems like there's a sense of urgency. The Mets are doing what they're supposed to do. The offense is still doing what they're supposed to do. Even though there was no runs scored after the fourth inning of yesterday's game by either team, the Mets bullpen held it down. You know what? As much as we've killed Ryan Stanek, he did the job yesterday. And now he didn't make it easy, but he did the job yesterday. And even though Diaz had a very, very odd ninth inning, like that ninth inning was so weird. Him could not locate his fastball, had to change his cleats mid-inning. Like that was just some crazy stuff yesterday. But he found the way to get it done. And yes, I see people talking about Davey Johnson, as you see on both sides of the corner up on top. Obviously, Davey Johnson passed away today. Obviously, the only manager in the last 40 years to bring a World Series to Queens was, listen, I wasn't born, so I know all about it. I watched it many times. And some you might have lived it. But unfortunately, David Johnson, 82 years old, if I'm not mistaken, 82, 83. That it's unfortunate. Again, every day we get older, every year we get older, things like this unfortunately happen. And, he was a manager that brought baseball back to Queens. Let's be honest about that, right? 69 was kind of like out of nowhere, beating the Orioles, the juggernaut Orioles, 80, during that time when Davey was the manager and they starting to bring everybody in, the Carters, the Hernandez, Gooden and Strawberry coming up and all that stuff and all the guys in between. We all know who they are. Davey Johnson put them together. And unfortunately, that team only won one championship, but it was hard to make the playoffs back then. You had to win the division. There was no wild card. Just imagine this team would have probably made the wild card multiple times, and who knows what they would have done if they had wild cards back then. But Davey was on 69. Yes, he was. He was. Yes, alien. But yeah, it sucks, right? I know he was in somewhat failing health. I remember reading the article. I forgot where I read it, but I know he wasn't doing well, and you just didn't hear anything after that. And then today we obviously heard the news, but unfortunately today on September 6th, 2025, Davey Johnson has passed away. So obviously rest in peace, and you know what? He'll always be the man. And even though David Wright's numbers retired, spiritually, Davey Johnson's numbers retired because he also wore number 5 as well. So it sucks, but again, maybe his aura, his vibes, whatever, all the attitude and everything he brought to that 86 team, hopefully it triggers something in this Mets team. Even though they've been playing better, I want to still see that killer instinct, and the offense has had that killer instinct. Mark Vientos is on fire. Juan Soto continues to be on fire. It's been the Vientos and Juan Soto show over the last couple of weeks, and it's nice to see. But there's still some things that annoy me. It really does annoy me. Like, after that 4th inning, there were so many bad at-bats from everybody in this lineup. It wasn't good at-bats. They had opportunities, didn't capitalize on adding more runs, and it allowed the Reds to come back in the game. The Reds have been coming back in games. That has been a trend for them for the last 2 months. That is the reason why they were behind us, even though they're not right now. And the Mets find themselves tied for second wild card spot right now. And the Cubs did lose, so that 5-game lead that the Cubs have on the Mets is now 4.5. So again, we're getting closer and closer to this number 1 wild card spot, and we face the Cubs within a week at the end of the year. So if we remain somewhere around there, maybe somehow catch the Phillies. The Phillies, I believe, are winning 4-2 right now, so the Mets might remain 6 games if they win tonight and the Phillies win. So overall, last night game started really well, and Peterson kind of fell apart a little bit in the 4th inning, and it kind of was like, damn, that sucks. That's unfortunate. But the Mets bent yesterday, but they did not break, and that's important. There was too many times where, and let's be honest, when they had the bases loaded, did anybody think we were winning that game? Like, we're just sitting there like, all right, how is this game gonna? How are we gonna lose this game? All right, is Diaz gonna walk the tie-in win and run, or is it gonna be an error or something? We don't know, right? That's all. Nobody thought we were gonna win this game. Like, let's be honest. When that 9th inning was going on, we're like, oh God, here we go. But Diaz with the changing of the cleats, and by the way, Acuna made a hell of a play, but this is how locked in Diaz is, even though he wasn't pitching well. He covered first base. Like, that is something. Would anybody be shocked if we came in today and I'm talking to you guys and saying Diaz did not cover first base? Because he has not done that before. That cost us the game. He's done it before where he did not cover. And if you see where Pete Alonso was playing, he was playing more towards the hole, which he should be with the bases loaded, and got very, very lucky there. Very lucky that Acuna made that really, really good play and Diaz covered, because, again, that would have been a tie game right there if Diaz didn't cover. So it's nice to see that Acuna is, helping his team, right? I still think his bat is just not good. But, again, he's very good defensively, and that will help late in games. That is something where you don't have to worry about certain things. You can throw Brett Beatty at third base for defensive purposes late in games and use Acuna in second base, which you didn't have that luxury before. So, and again, his speed actually made up on that defensive play, and to get up quickly and make that a hard throw, basically a a bullseye right to Diaz was an outstanding play. And it's good to see because, again, it takes every guy on this roster. And we saw even Ryan Stanek step up a little bit yesterday. Even though he didn't make it easy, he did get the job done. And, hopefully that he can build off of that, because I said it before and I'll say it again. It's very unlikely Helsley and Stanek are going to be DFA'd. I don't think it's going to happen. Stanek has way too much playoff experience, where I know people don't like that. I know people don't care about that because of the struggles they're going through right now. But Ryan Stanek, with the playoff experience, the organization loves that, especially in bullpen arms. Tyler Rogers is one of them as well. Ryan Helsley is kind of a guy, not a, he had a decent amount of, a little bit of playoff experience. But again, Ryan Helsley, these are the guys he brought in. He's not going to do anything except try to get these guys right. And Ryan Stanek is a guy, again, we all forget that Ryan Stanek, when we traded for him, wasn't very good during that season. And everybody was fine with that move. Everybody's really happy with that move. He didn't pitch well during the final 2 months of the season after getting traded to the Mets. But in the playoffs, he was a big key to the Mets bullpen in the postseason. And that is where I think we lose focus on why these guys matter. The same thing goes for Jose Quintana last year, where a lot of people did not want Quintana in this rotation on this team. And he ended up being a big part of what the Mets did in September and in the playoffs. If it wasn't for Quintana, who was probably one of our best starters throughout the postseason, we might have been knocked out of one of the series, either in the NLDS or wild card. And that was a big deal. So with Stanek, I still think there's something there that he's going to help us in the postseason. I truly believe it. Now, Ryan Helsley, I don't know. I really don't. I really don't know. I hope he gets it together. He's got an electric arm. He does have a wipeout slider, but he's getting killed right now. So I hope he gets it together, because it'll be a lot better when Helsley gets it going, because there's more people you could trust, more people that Mendoza can trust, which is the important thing. Not just we can trust. It's what Mendoza can trust. And right now, Stanek finally showed some competence and, actually made the pitch that he needed to get out of that inning. Again, he put himself into trouble, but he got out of it, and that's okay. You get into trouble, you get out of it, and that's nice to see Ryan Stanek do that. So the good thing is, we still got areas that we still have to be better in. Yeah, easy. Well, I'm not saying it's an overly exciting moment for Stanek, but he needed a moment like that. He needed a game like that, because there hasn't been many of those. So having him do that, and again, I still believe it's all about confidence. Like Ryan Stanek, fastball didn't drop 4 more miles an hour. If his velocity was down, I would be concerned, but it's not. It's clearly confidence. And we talked about the same thing with Helsley. And I think it's a lot with a lot of these guys. Mark Vientos, it wasn't talent, it was confidence. It was believing in himself. Now he had to make an adjustment, and you see all of a sudden that them outside sliders, he's either, spitting on them, or he's taking it the other way. Like, it's little adjustments, and I also think it's confidence. I think you can lose confidence even if you have great stuff. And we've seen it with Helsley, and we've seen it with Stanek. So it's to get out of that. I don't care who's it against. And let's not act like the Reds are chumps. All right, they have been a team that had come back against the Blue Jays. They've been a team of comebacks in their home ballpark. They're not a great team by any means. They're not I don't think they're probably a slightly above average team. But in that spot, you still got to make the out. You still got to get it out. And you know what? If Stanek would have gave it up, what would everybody would have been saying? Oh, you gave it up to the Reds? So you wouldn't give him, you would blame him if he failed. But when he does his job, he doesn't get credit. Give him a little bit of credit. He did his job. It wasn't perfect. Same thing with Diaz. he wasn't perfect. He was worse than Stanek in that game yesterday, but he found a way to get out of it. I don't know how it worked, how they did it, but they did it. And again, if Stanek comes out his next outing and shits the bed, well, it didn't work. But it still has to be about confidence. And Easy, I agree with that. But if you look where Alonso was playing, he was a little off, and that's always the problem. And it's not Pete Alonso's fault. It's the defensive positioning that they put him in. Because when they put Pete Alonso in no man's land, and if you notice, he was well off the bag, basically in the hole between first and second. Pete Alonso is not very good in making a decision to go after a ball in that spot or go right to the bag. In that spot, he got very lucky Diaz covered. Because in that situation, Pete Alonso got to know where your second baseman is. And you got to know who's playing second base. Now, maybe if that was Jeff McNeil with lesser speed than Acuna, maybe I could see Pete Alonso, cheating a little bit to his right to make that play. But in that situation, Pete Alonso's got to know who's at second base and where his second baseman is positioned. Because it just didn't make sense why Pete Alonso was doing that. You got to know where your second baseman is. You got to know who's your second baseman at that point. That is the whole point of you knowing what to do prior to that pitch. Like, okay, if it's hit here, where do I got to go? Like, I don't know, draw a line with your cleat of where the line you won't go past for a ball. Because you got to make that decision quick. And clearly, Pete Alonso broke that line, and he clearly went after that ball. And luckily, Diaz, who was on point and focused in that moment, knew what he had to do. Anytime, and this is what I don't understand with a lot of pitchers, any ball, I don't care if it's hit hard, soft, doesn't matter. If that ball is hit to the right side, your ass better be gunning it to first base, even if you're not even involved in the play. And it doesn't seem like you're going to be needed in that play. You always got to jump off the mound and head to first base. That is your job. After you throw the pitch, you should be ready to go to first base when that ball is hit to the right side. It's just that simple. So Diaz did something that you do in spring training, PFP. That's all he had to do. And he did it. So he don't get a ton of credit, but you give him credit because he's fucked up that before. And he cost us games because of it. And this is situations where you always worry about, and Easy brought it up about Pete Alonso being in a bad, you take yourself out of the play. You can't do that. In bigger games, you can't do that because you're not the only one that's trying to, think about what you're going to do. Clearly, Pete Alonso had a brain fart. That was a dumb play. You shouldn't have one after that. You got to know where your second baseman is, and you got to know who your second baseman is when it comes to, can my guy get to that if it's in the hole? So, but you know what? It worked out. Acuna made a hell of a play, right? You see he took a little bit of a longer hop. He kind of moved back a little bit so we can get that bigger hop, and he made the play. He slipped a little bit, got up there, and boom, threw a strike to Diaz, and we ended that game. So it's nice to see that the Mets were, even though Alonso took himself out of the play, it's hard to always blame a guy for trying to make a play, right? But again, if Diaz didn't cover, there would have been blame on both sides. It would have been Pete Alonso taking himself out of the play, going after that ball, which he had no shot of getting, and Diaz for not covering. But Pete Alonso took himself out of the play. Acuna made a great play. And Diaz covered. So problem solved, game over, Mets win, put it in the books. And yeah, Acuna made a hell of a play. But again, I still don't want Acuna playing every day. I just don't. I don't want his bat in the lineup. I don't think it's good enough. I think it's a waste of a bat. Now, I don't like Mullins either, but Mullins is our center fielder until Tyrone Taylor comes back. That's just how it goes. Acuna is more valuable coming off the bench. If it's a pinch runner situation, defensive replacement, that's where he's at his best right now for this team. Now, if he works on it in the offseason and looks great in spring training with the bat, and he fixes what he needs to fix with the bat, because again, that speed means nothing if you're in the starting lineup every single day. If you have a low average, low on base, and you strike out a ton, that does not help your speed at all. Because if you don't get on enough, your speed is useless. That's why right now he is a guy that is what I think he needs to be. He needs to be a guy that's not in the starting lineup, who will come in for a defensive replacement or a pinch runner late in the game. And that's fine. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. Right now, you're not better than Davey. You're not better than Vientos. You don't have any, you shouldn't be starting. He did yesterday, great. No, he did get one hit, and I like him going to the opposite field. That's what he needs to do more of. He's got to stop trying to swing for the fences when he's not a home run hitter. Like, I'm sorry, you're not a home run hitter. You might hit 12. That's it. Relax with that. You got too much speed to be hitting the ball in the air. Put the ball on the ground and make the defense make a play. But he did his job yesterday exactly how he was supposed to do his job. He made the defensive play of the game. And it was because of his speed and his arm. And good for him for coming back up and being focused and knowing what he had to do. Because that was a moving target right there. Diaz was running to the bag. That is not an easy play to make. I know everybody says just throw it to the bag. Hopefully your fielder's there. Sure. But that's not an easy throw to make, because sometimes instead of leading the guy to the bag, you throw it at the guy who's running, and then it's behind him and all that craziness. And then who knows what would happen. But great job by Acuna. Great job. Good job by Diaz covering. Pete Alonso still got to know to not take himself out of a play like that, because it can end up being costly, and he needs to do better than that. But I'm not faulting him for trying to make a play. But you gotta be quick about that decision. If you think you want to try to make that play, and you gotta react fast, knowing that you're not going to be able to get there, get your ass to the bag, because you don't always want to count on your pitcher to cover. You just never know. Their mind's elsewhere sometimes. So, but it didn't hurt us. We won the ball game. It wasn't easy, but we got the job done. And listen, when there's less than 22 games, when there's nearly 20 games to go, you take any win you can, regardless of how it happened. We can break it down all we want about this guy and that guy and what did this guy didn't do, what that guy did, doesn't matter. A win is a win, and we will break it down, win or lose, but we'll break it down. But ultimately, all that matters right now is winning ball games. And it shouldn't really matter how it happened. The Reds didn't win because they suck. Who cares? That's their problem, not ours. We got the W, right? We gained the game on the Padres. That's why we tied. We gained the game on the Cubs, and the Cubs did lose today. So if we win today, we're 4 games from the Cubs from the number 1 wild card spot. Guys, this is important. Right now, if the season ended today, we'd be facing the Cubs in Chicago. And I know that's just, thinking ahead, but I'm just saying the Mets put themselves in a good spot right here, right? You got the Padres not playing extremely well. The Mets have been playing much better, and the Cubs have been, been okay, but not that great. And PCA got hurt today. I don't know how long he finished his at bat, but they took him out of the game, and he fouled a ball off his knee, and he hit that knee hard. So we'll see if that will hurt them. But overall, the Mets put themselves in a position with 21 games to go, including tonight, where they have the opportunity to gain more games on somebody in front of them. And I think the Phillies are still winning 4-2. I haven't checked the score since I'm talking to you guys. But just keep on winning. If you keep on winning, everything's got to take care of yourself. You're firmly in a playoff spot. In the second wild card, tied with the Padres. We are firmly in the wild card spot. Regardless of where we are, we're in a good spot right now because you don't have to look over anybody's back. If you win a ball game, you don't have to scoreboard watch. And again, when the Mets win or lose, you're going to look at the scores. You're curious because the Giants are playing red hot right now. The Padres are right there with the Mets. And we're always looking at the division for the Phillies. We always are. So, but just keep winning. You keep winning, you take care of you. Everything takes care of itself. And that is what we have to worry about right now is worry about yourself. Well, adorable, sure. Look, the number one wild card, it sounds nice with home field advantage, but that didn't really work out so well in 2022. Now, we choked the division away. That's a whole different ball game. But it would be nice to have home field advantage for the 3 games of the wild card. But I think sometimes home field is overrated sometimes. I don't think home field is as big for the home team as it once was. But yeah, of course, I'd rather see 44,000 Met fans going crazy at Citi Field than at Wrigley Field or wherever we might be. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with that. Listen, I'd love to have the games at Citi Field because I find my ass over there at Citi Field and I will go there for those playoff games. So that's the important thing. I wish the Mets would end with a 22-game winning streak. I think we win the division if we go 22-0. But that's probably not going to happen. Again, we all want it to, but it's probably not going to happen. It's going to be a kind of a short pregame, but I want to go through the lineup really quickly as me and Chris are doing a postgame tonight. Whenever the game is over, me and Chris got you covered on the postgame, the best postgame after Mets game, guys. So make sure you tune in later tonight after the game, hopefully talking about a Mets win and another Mets series win as well. So Lindor, Soto, Nimmo, Alonso, McNeil, Vientos, Beatty, Torrens, and Mullins. Brady Singer has over a 4 ERA. He's okay, nothing special. Now, again, I said the last time I spoke to you guys that you couldn't really judge Jonah Tong in his first start because he sat down for the first inning and second inning, respectively, 30 minutes per inning when the Mets were just scoring a ton of runs. He had a 10-run lead by the third inning. It's hard to judge somebody by that because there isn't much happening except he's on the mound and he's throwing with a 10-0 lead. Like that's not a way to figure out a pitcher. Now we see his stuff, right? He's got a nice fastball. He's got nasty breaking stuff. He's nasty. But when the game is close, when it's 0-0, when it's a close game, when it's in a smaller ballpark, a bandbox like Cincinnati, how do you perform? This is more of a judgment of what Jonah Tong is going to be, or at least what we think he could be. And hopefully he pitches well, right? That's the idea, right? He is supposed to – this is the opportunity here, right? His first game is – I don't look at that and take anything out of that except that the kid was pretty damn good. And that's fine. But again, when you have a huge lead, there isn't much pressure to make that big strikeout or, get that big double play. There was nothing there, right? The game was somewhat boring. Like, let's be honest. We were winning, so we're excited about that. But the game is boring. We see McLean in tight games, in tight situations, in big moments. We saw Nolan McLean did not have his best stuff his last time out, but found a way to find certain pitches that worked and continue to dominate and went 14 straight without giving anything, got 14 outs in a row. That is something that I want to see from Jonah Tong. I want to see Jonah Tong, regardless of the situation. If you don't have a certain pitch, find something else. Do what you need to do to make those outs by any means necessary. That's what we got to see from Jonah Tong. We know what his stuff looks like. We know how good it could be. But that does not mean you're going to be a successful pitcher. 99% of baseball and pitchers have great stuff. Not all of them succeeds. It's just a fact, right? Everybody has 96 to 99. Everybody has off speed. Everybody has breaking ball pitches. It is when you can adjust on the fly, when you get adversity, do you grab it by the horns and take care of business, or do you fold under that pressure? That has yet to be determined with Jonathan. We'll see. Same thing goes for Brandon Sproat tomorrow. We know he has good stuff. Everybody has good stuff. You don't make the majors with bad stuff. Good pitcher or big pitcher, or best pitcher, or prospect, doesn't matter. Everybody has great stuff. Everybody has the 96 to 99 fastball. Everybody has breaking balls. Everybody has off-speed pitches. A lot of them have good numbers in the minor leagues. Doesn't mean they're all going to be successful major leaguers, and doesn't mean these are all going to be top pitchers in our rotation. We just don't know that yet. What everybody wants to say, that, oh, look how good these are, but irrelevant. They all got to do it, and they all got to consistently do that. Now, do I think Jonathan's going to pitch well today? I do. Now, is it going to be good enough to win? We'll see. Now, we do know the Mets have been scoring runs. Again, they needed, 5 runs or more to win a ball game. Again, it's so annoying. It's fun to watch them scoring runs. But, again, when you're facing better teams and better pitching constantly, especially in the playoffs, you're not always going to put a 5 spot or more every single day. The Mets got to figure out ways to win 2-1 games, 3-2 games, 1-run victories. Even though they did last night, they still had to score 5 runs. It's annoying. It's great to see they're scoring runs now. But if they don't score these runs, they lose. I mean, you got to score 5 runs a game just to win? It's ridiculous at this point. But you'll take a win how we get them at this point. And we'll see. Well, Dolo, I don't think it was about Sproat being the one to break. I truly think that they thought that their bullpen was set after the deadline in the last couple of weeks. But when Helsley and Stanek were just terrible, they were like, you know what? We got Tom coming up. We have McLean. Let's see if Sproat can be a bullpen arm. We know he's a good arm, and maybe we can get his good arm in the bullpen. I don't think it had anything to do with the lack of confidence with Brandon Sproat. I think that they were trying to find a good arm to put in the bullpen because Helsley, Stanek, and others weren't doing the job. I think that's the only reason. Now, again, we could be right? You could be right. He might break under the pressure. I don't know. But you know what? He's been damn good. Just like these other 2 guys in AAA. So, given the opportunity, we'll see what he can do. You know what? Doesn't it seem to always happen? The guy who kind of gets the short end of the stick, and I think Brandon Sproat has a chip on his shoulder. I don't think he's been a professional, but you think he's happy that he was the 3rd guy called up when he should have been when he probably thought in his mind he should have been the 1st guy called up? I think he has a chip on his shoulder, and that's something that I want a guy to have coming from the minors, having a chip on his shoulder. You don't think he wants to prove that he's better than these other 2 guys? Now, ultimately, it might not be the case, but I'd rather have a guy have a chip on his shoulder pitching tomorrow than a guy who was just given the opportunity because the Mets are so desperate. It's not like Brandon Sproat was pitching bad, but the Mets are so desperate for an arm that they threw him in the rotation. All these guys deserve to be here. So I always say it, and I'm going to keep on saying it. The New York Mets have issues with giving guys positions and putting them on the roster who don't deserve it as prospects. It annoys me. It's why even have spring training? Why have a minor league system if you're just going to give guys opportunities and put guys on rosters who don't deserve it? Each one in McLean, Tong, and Sproat all deserve to be here. And they deserve to get that opportunity to perform. McLean has done it. Tong has showed some signs his first time out. We'll see what he does today, but they all deserve it. The good news is the Mets have an opportunity to win a series today against the Cincinnati Reds. Jonathan, Brady Singer, you would think you have the pitching matchup, but crazier things have happened. But I do expect Jonathan to pitch well, and I expect this Mets offense to continue to do what they've been doing. If you notice, they've been in all of Major League Baseball in offensive categories. They're number 1 down the line, except for home runs. You know, the Mets are number 2, the Yankees are number 1. So the offense has been the best in baseball in almost every category offensively. I expect them to score runs. And if I expect them to score runs, that means I expect the pitcher on the mound to hold leads. That includes Jonathan and the bullpen. So do I expect the Mets to get out to a lead? Yes. Do I expect the pitching to hold the lead? I don't know. We'll see. But we do have a post game today. Myself and Chris, whenever the game is over tonight on this Saturday, we will bring the post game to you. We'll recap the game, instant reactions, and all that fun stuff. Tune in to the post game show right after the game on my channel and on Chris's channel, and of course on X as well. So make sure you tune into the post game later tonight, guys. Mets are 6 games out of the division. They're 4.5 now, not 5, from the Cubs for the first wild card. They are tied for the second wild card, and they're 4 games up on any wild card spot right now in front of the Giants. So, guys, with that said, I want you to enjoy the game. Let's go Mets, and me and Chris will see you on the post-game show to break it all down for you guys. Let's go Mets, guys, and enjoy the game.
Seven train rumble, headed to the field. Orange and blue vibes, the energy revealed. Brooklyn to Queens, repping both hunts. Rob and CP, keep it